Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first edition of Let It Play Out? Here on the Music and Moose Salts channel, I am your host, as always, Chris Bordine, and this is something new I'm trying for 2022. I want to talk a little more current wrestling, and I'm still obviously going to do the Wrestling Wayback Machine every month. But I want to do these quick little hits on the current product, and hopefully, if not, get one of these out every week, every other week or so, a little more consistent product for you guys to enjoy. And again, just want to get in on the conversation on the current product. So the goal of the show is we've all heard. Especially from a certain segment of the wrestling fan base, that four-letter phrase, let it play out, from everything, and it's regarding everything from Bianca losing to Becky in 20-some seconds at SummerSlam to who knows what all else. But, the popular refrain from certain people is, let it play out. And so I kind of want to turn that, use that and make a question out of it. Do I want to let this play out? How likely am I to let this play out? How confident am I that if I do, in fact, let it play out, that it will bear something fruitful? So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to just take a couple topics. And today it's really one topic. Today it's the biggest story of the week, of the month. The Royal Rumble was this past weekend, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. It was not a good show. It just was not a good show. It was, I hate these 4-hour pay-per-views, man. I just hate them. I hate the quality is better, but I'm not a fan of AEW's 4-hour pay-per-views. Like, I don't like it. 3 hours should be, and I get it with two Royal Rumble matches, you're looking at 2 hours right there. So I get it. I'm a little more lenient for the Royal Rumble most years, but not this year. This year was just, it felt every bit of those 4 hours. A couple of the matches were okay, but other than that, the two, I would definitely say the Women's Royal Rumble was better than the Men's Rumble, but that's not saying a whole lot, because that Men's Rumble is one of the worst Royal Rumbles I've ever seen. It was terrible. But I'm not gonna break down the matches themselves. You know what happened. You know what, how it all went about. We're gonna focus on, where do we go from here now? And so, yeah, and both Rumble matches had winners that, I got a feeling that most people are not thrilled about. The rumors came out late last week, maybe the middle of last week, but came out last week that WWE was pushing for a Ronda Rousey return. I'm not anti-Ronda like some people are. I thought she was varying degrees of pretty good to great on her first run there. And sometimes it was really, really good stuff, and sometimes it wasn't so good. She came out at 28, number 28 in the Women's Royal Rumble, and she got a big pop because it's Ronda Rousey. She's a big star, and I think a lot of people were hoping Bianca would win back to back, but that wasn't the case. Ronda Rousey wins the Royal Rumble. So that leads to the question, who is Ronda Rousey going to face at WrestleMania now? And it's one of those things where the thing that they should do is not the thing that I want them to do. but I really don't want them to do the other option either. It's just a weird scenario here. So the reports are, I believe Wrestling Observer was the first to have it, and it's since been corroborated by Fightful Select that the working plan right now is for Ronda to face Charlotte at WrestleMania. Now, this is a one-on-one match we've seen at Survivor Series 2018. It was, obviously it was supposed to be Ronda and Becky at that show, but Becky got her face broken, that whole deal. But we've seen it one-on-one. What we haven't seen one-on-one is Ronda versus Becky. So if you're just presenting me with Ronda Rousey wrestling at WrestleMania for one of the titles, and between the two options, I'm picking Becky. But I also don't want that either, because I, like a lot of people, feel like Bianca Belair needs to beat Becky Lynch and win her second women's championship and kind of exercise the demons of SummerSlam. So it's one of those weird, those damned if you do, damned if you don't scenarios where, like I said, the thing that they should do with Ronda Rousey is not the thing I want them to do. And it doesn't sound like the thing they are going to do, but I'm not necessarily excited about that either, because I've seen it, and I don't know if I need that at WrestleMania. And again, I don't know if Ronda Rousey needed a Royal Rumble win. I think you could have just had her show up on TV, or even show up. I mean, you don't want to completely repeat what she did when she came in 2018, but you could have had her, seeing as you could have had Charlotte. If you didn't want Bianca to win and you wanted to set this up, Charlotte was in the match anyway. She was the final two with Ronda. Just have Charlotte win the thing. And then she can talk about how she does, doesn't have any challengers or something. And then you could have had Ronda come out and confront her. Yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. I wasn't excited about it. And then again, like, they don't know. So she got a really big positive crowd reaction, which led me to believe that she was going to be a babyface. And if she's facing Charlotte, then I think she probably should be a babyface. And even though Becky's a heel right now too, like, if you put Ronda against Becky, Becky's going to get cheered over Ronda. So I guess that's why they might, and they think she's got a better chance of getting cheered against Charlotte, maybe. But then I haven't seen it yet, but apparently there's a WWE.com interview where she sounds more like a heel. So I don't know. And maybe it doesn't even matter. I mean, they just had Seth and Roman, who are both, I think, technically heels still, fight for the title at the Royal Rumble. So maybe it might not even matter. I don't know. I don't know anymore with them. But yeah, so when it comes to Ronda Rousey winning the Rumble and going on to face presumably Charlotte, on a scale of 1 to 10, whether I'm willing to let it play out, it's like a 4. Like, it's going to happen, and it's not something where I'm like, that's what I'm hyped for WrestleMania. So, speaking of things I'm not necessarily hyped for WrestleMania. So, coming into the night, Brock and Roman were supposed to face at day 1, and Roman came down with COVID, so they put Brock in the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE title and made that a 5-way, and Brock ends up winning. And so now the question is, if the presumed plan is to get to Brock and Roman at WrestleMania again, how do we get there with both men being world champion? And there was every theory from it's going to be a unification match to just all kinds of things thrown out by fans and stuff online and everywhere. And as we got closer, with Lesnar facing Bobby Lashley for the WWE title, and like I said, the aforementioned Roman Reigns Seth Rollins match, you kind of got the sense that, okay, one of these guys is losing, but who? You could have Seth beat Roman and take the Universal title back to Raw, switch that strap from a blue strap back to a red strap, and have Brock then go over to SmackDown with the WWE title. Or you could have Lashley beat Brock, and then you figure out a way to get Brock to the number one contender of the Universal title again. And again, they chose the least creative option. So the show opened with Roman and Seth, which kind of like, oh, well, maybe Roman's going to lose. And this was by far the highlight of the night. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I just loved, I don't watch a lot of the weekly TV. I just catch snippets online. But I did happen to catch the show closing promo from SmackDown on Friday and thought it was just phenomenal stuff. Anytime you can bring in Shield lore into a story, I'm for it. I love the Shield. I have always loved the Shield, and it's just I anytime they can incorporate that, I'm a big fan. And little did I know how much they were going to incorporate. I mean, Roman comes out first, which I thought was strange, but then the Shield music hits and Seth comes down in full Shield regalia, comes down through the crowd, does the somersault over the barricade, and that match was really good until the ending, which of course, but Roman retains. So then it's like, all right, is Brock gonna lose? Well, Brock lost with some help from Roman Reigns and a double-crossing Paul Heyman. So then the Men's Rumble starts later, and it's, like I said, not a very good Rumble at all. One of it's got to be in the bottom 5 as far as the Men's Royal Rumbles go. It was not. It was boring. There was no intrigue. I think a lot of the problem with the Royal Rumble this year was they announced too many people. On both the women's and the men's. Like, by the time it was all said and done, I think there was they had 25 of the 5 spots for the Men's Rumble announced ahead of time. So you only get 5 surprises, and one of those was Drew McIntyre, which was good to see him. Glad to see that the neck injury isn't going to be serious. One of them was Bad Bunny, which, okay, he had a big thing at WrestleMania last year, and why not use that? That's, fine. I was fine with it. One of those was Shane McMahon, of all people. And again, this is coming from the guy who was at the Raw when Shawn returned in 2016 and lost his mind when Here Comes the Money hit. We're a long ways away from that, folks. I'm sick of Shane McMahon. I don't want to see him anymore on my television. And he just needs to stay away. But nope, he's a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, and he makes it to the Final 4 too, which is just typical Shane McMahon. And then one of the other surprises was at number 30, Brock Lesnar. And I use the term surprise loosely because, again, that was one of the more popular theories of how we were going to get to this Roman-Brock rematch of a rematch of a rematch at WrestleMania, was that whoever lost their title would then enter themselves into the Royal Rumble and win it and set up the WrestleMania match. And that's what they did. And maybe it's because they just did this with Becky a few years ago. in 2019 where she had a title match against Asuka and lost. But it's a completely different situation. Everyone was clamoring for Becky to win the Rumble. Like, they wanted the Becky Ronda match that year. Like, that's what everyone wanted. And so they didn't care that she had lost and that she was entering the Rumble. And B, the way they did it, you know, Lana, I believe it was Lana, she came out, she was hurt and couldn't compete, so Becky took her spot. So what I want to know is, whose spot did Brock take? Who was supposed to be in that Rumble that didn't end up making it in the Rumble because Brock decided to go in at 30? Was this and maybe they'll explain it. I'm not counting on it, but was this something in Brock's contract that if he lost to Lashley that he would be then inserted into the Royal Rumble? Did they have the spot saved for if either man lost their title? What would they have done if both men retained? Like, this is what I want to know. I want to know how this happened, and maybe they'll explain it, but probably they won't. But again, the most unimaginative thing imaginable, or that sounds funny, but you know what I mean. You know, Brock comes in at 30, tosses people around, eliminates a bunch of people, and ends up winning the Royal Rumble. I did kind of like that it came down to Brock and Drew playing off what happened in 2020, but not enough to really write home about. So yeah, Brock wins. We're headed for Brock Roman again for the third time at WrestleMania. The WrestleMania 31 match was great. And then, you know, got the Seth cash-in to top it all off, and it was great. The WrestleMania 34 match, not so great. Not my favorite. And especially because they've already done it once, and they were like, I wonder if they would have done this match at day one. Were they still planning on doing this at WrestleMania? Because then it would have been 3 times in 5 or 6 months that they did this match, because they did it in Saudi Arabia, and then they would have done it at day one, and then at WrestleMania again. So I again, just beating things into the ground. No imagination. It's like the only thing we can do with Brock is have him in the title picture. And I'm like a lot of people. I love this Brock Lesnar. This ponytail, cowboy hat wearing, all flannel Brock Lesnar, who's actually talking, even when he had Heyman with him for those, you know, that month or so. He still was able to talk for himself. Like, I like this version of Brock Lesnar, but I don't want to see him in the title picture. Find something else to do with him. And he definitely didn't need the Royal Rumble. It doesn't sound like they even have any idea what they're doing for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley, obviously, is the current champion. They've got the Elimination Chamber coming up in Saudi Arabia next month, or this month, or whatever. You know what I mean. Obviously, I'm recording this before Raw, so maybe something happens tonight. I doubt it. But yeah, and you know, a lot of people, again, were hoping that Big E was going to win. And I get that the reports are out there that Kofi not being able to stick that near elimination on the barricade and actually getting eliminated, I guess that ruined some plans for Big E in the Rumble match. But he wasn't going to win, obviously, so really, what does it matter? And I feel like he just kind of got tossed aside again, and that doesn't make me feel very good at all. So yeah, just a lot of not great. So again, on the scale of 1 to 10, when it comes to heading toward yet another Brock vs. Roman WrestleMania match, and whether I'm willing to let it play out. This is like a 2. Like, I'm just not interested. Not at all. Right now, as it stands, not really looking forward to WrestleMania at all. Even with it being spread out over 2 nights. Obviously, we have some time. There's a couple things they could do that, if they do them, might make me a little interested. For instance, if they did Edge versus AJ, that's a match I've been wanting since Edge came back. So if we could do that one, that would get me interested. But as of right now, it's not looking great for WrestleMania right now. So, yeah. So that'll do it for this edition of Let It Play Out. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm really hoping for big things in 2022. Got some cool things coming up, not only on my own channel, but doing some cool things with some cool people, hopefully elsewhere. So I'll keep you updated on that. And the best place to keep you updated on that, follow me on Twitter at IbanezChris. I'm on there quite often. You can also go to facebook.com/musicandmoonsaults. My goal in 2022 is to get much better about posting over there on Facebook. This will be on audio of the show. So if you want that, and moving forward, anchor.fm/Christopher-495. And leave a comment. Let me know where you at on the directions post Mania with Ronda and Brock, on a scale of 1 to 10. How ready, willing, and able are you to let it play out? Yeah. So that'll do it. Until next time, guys. See ya.